I do know someone who is a victim of sexual violence.
Who's been a victim of sexual violence. Yeah, I do.
I have known a couple of people who have been, unfortunately.
I know a couple of people.
I do know a few people.
It happens to all different types of people. It happens to people from all different socioeconomic, cultural backgrounds. This happens to girls, boys, men, and women. This crime happens in same-sex relationships. This crime, sexual violence, does not discriminate.
I do know someone who is a victim of sexual violence. I know a few people. Some close friends of mine were.
Research and studies show that 1 in 6 women, some say 1 in 4, will be raped or have rape attempted on her in her lifetime.
Don't personally know anyone who's been a victim of sexual violence.
What we've seen, especially on college campuses, is that the victim and the perpetrator know each other, they're friends, maybe they're in a relationship.
Actually, this one kid tried to force himself on me one time, and I knew another person who was here who was also raped as well.
First of all, they don't even see themselves as a survivor or a victim. Those words are foreign to them, and it's really hard for them to label what happened.
To me, sexual violence is whenever anyone has touched another person in a way they find uncomfortable.
I think sexual violence is any sort of physical I guess sexual contact that's unwanted.
Somewhat difficult to define, but I think to some extent we all kind of know what's right and wrong in those terms. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Specifically, rape has to do with, in New York State, has to do with penis into vagina. So penetration, however slight. Sexual assault or sexual violence, that's a really broad term that can be anywhere from any type of unwanted touching of a sexual nature to unconsensual oral sex, forced oral sex.
Sexual violence to me is when someone forces themselves upon someone else and there's no consent involved at all.
It's actually in the law in New York State that if a person is mentally incapacitated, they can't consent to sex. And what that means is mentally incapacitated has to do if they were unknowingly slipped a drug. They can't consent to sex. Also, if they're physically helpless. And what the law means by physically helpless is they're so inebriated that they can't give consent. They're either very high or very drunk. A partner who's very, very high or very drunk just can't give consent, and if someone chooses to have sex with them, they're committing a crime.
I don't really know, what, happens to a person when, they go through that, but like when she told me that, I was completely shocked because I never thought I would know anyone who would go through something like that.
So many victims and survivors are just not believed. Their family or friends doubt what happened. Society as a whole may not believe the survivor. And false allegations of rape are no more common than false allegations of other types of crime. But there's this myth that most women are lying when they come forward, and that's just really not what we're seeing. We're seeing most women not telling anyone until years later because they're so ashamed and so embarrassed, or someone reacted in a negative way when they did tell, and they never opened their mouths again.
I think the first step is to go to someone that you trust completely, whether that's a friend, a family member, a teacher.
Supporting him or her, saying things like, "I'm so sorry this happened to you, it's not your fault." Providing the person with options. They can get medical treatment, they can go to the police, they can go to a counseling center.
Well, of course, if they're able to, definitely get police involved.
White Plains participates in our SANE program, and again, SANE stands for Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner. These are specially trained nurses that perform the forensic medical exam on survivors of sexual assault in the ER. So really, medical treatment.
I recommend that they see somebody, if they're on campus, maybe an advisor, maybe, I don't know, anyone who could help them, a police officer.
And not forcing her or him to go and get services. They may not be ready for that, and as a friend, we really have to be supportive and say, I'm here for you when you're ready, and I'll go with you or help you.
To seek medical treatment, to seek emotional treatment, talk to a counselor, go to a counseling center if they can, and remember that it's really not their fault and there's nothing that they could do to prevent it from happening.
The most important thing for survivors of sexual assault is to know that they're not alone, that what happened to them is not their fault. It really doesn't matter you know, what they were doing at the time of the assault, what they were wearing, who they were with. They have nothing to be ashamed of. You know, the only person to blame for this crime is the person who did it. That's it. And really for them to know that there's so many resources available for them, and you know that we're here to help.